Hey, what's up? So, you know how when you're a kid, you have this general idea that adults have life figured out, right? And then when you become an adult, you're kind of like, huh, I don't really know what's going on. And I don't really think anyone my age knows what's going on either. And the older you get, the more you realize nobody really knows what's going on. And everyone's still trying to figure it out no matter their age. And I'm at a point now where I'm starting to really realize how a lot of adults don't really have not just their life figured out, but they don't have their internal mind or emotions figured out either. And this became really evident to me this weekend. I was at Disneyland and I witnessed this lady with a child get into this heated argument with this man who's maybe 50 years old. This lady's like maybe late 30s, early 40s. And the conduct they were displaying was really bad, especially for public, especially for Disneyland. And I was just shocked at how people could act like that at that age. And it's actually really evident in our society. The number of videos online where you see full-grown adults throwing, gigantic tantrums, in public at like, grocery stores, malls, airplanes, right? Where they're able to just like act a certain way, which is pretty much like a child, is pretty much crazy. And it just kind of to show you that, hey, just because you grow older doesn't mean that your mind matures. And you have to actively work on yourself in order to mature. It doesn't just come with age and experience. You have to actually try to mature and try to become a better person. So it seems like to me, at least, the number of adults who can't handle their shit is alarmingly large. And if you don't work on yourself actively to change and make yourself better to handle your shit, then you're at risk of becoming one of these 50 or 60-year-olds that are throwing tantrums in public, which is really bad for society, in my opinion. So I think it's important for us to learn how to handle our shit and change when we're younger. And I read this book recently that I think did a really good job explaining on what does handling your shit actually mean. So I'll try to summarize that for you now. And basically, the idea is okay, so we go through life. Let's say we're born, we grow up, we go through life having all these experiences. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. And as we go through life, we start developing this opinion, right? I think this is good. I think this is bad. I think this is the way the world should be. And at some point, you have experiences that affected you in the past. They make you feel a certain way. Some of them make you happy. Some of them make you feel scared. Some of them make you feel sad. Some of them make you feel angry, right? And then you have this opinion on how the world should be. And then when the world outside happens to match what you think the world should be, you're happy, everything is fine. But then when the world outside doesn't match what you think the world inside your brain should be, you get upset or you react in some way. The problem with this is that there's only one real world outside, and there's like 8 billion worlds inside because everyone's world in their brain is different because everyone has different experiences. So by definition, it's impossible for everyone to be happy with the world outside because everyone has a different opinion. And it's impossible for you to be happy with the world that you think it should be in your head, right? Just by definition, it's not going to happen. So the idea is when you are going through life and things happen and you're reacting a certain way because of whatever happened to you in the past, it's not actually you reacting. It's your mind that's reacting. Your mind is feeling these feelings and giving you these thoughts, and you're just a separate entity from your mind, and you're the one observing your mind having these thoughts. The problem is a lot of people forget that they're separate from their mind. So when something bad happens to you, or someone doesn't say thank you to you, or someone cuts you off, and you start having a reaction, right? But it's actually not you having the reaction; it's your mind having this reaction. You're just observing it. But if you get so lost in your thoughts, you forget that you're separate from your mind, and you start reacting to these things that your mind is serving up, right? So when I say you should handle your shit, really what I mean is you should observe that your mind is having these reactions and feelings, and you being the one that's observing your mind is able to determine how you want to act. So you can decide to say, hey, you know what? That happened and my mind feels this way, and I can just lean back and ignore it, right? You can just lean back and ignore it. And the more you're able to ignore it, the more your mind will not have these reactions. And it's okay if your mind has these reactions, it's built in, it's going to happen. But if you're standing at Disneyland and someone moves next to you, you don't have to start a whole argument over it, right? Because it's not that big of a deal. You can just let it go. You can act any way you want, but you can ignore it. You can move a little bit. Everything will be fine. And these reactions that you're trying to observe yourself having, doesn't only have to be anger. It can really be anything. You're really just trying to observe yourself having reactions and acknowledging it, right? So, and it's actually really hard to do because these are just your thoughts and it's normal to you because you've been doing it all along. Like, I've been working on it a lot. So one thing I noticed, for example, it took me a while to notice is like every time I stand in a line, the line splits off into two lines. I'm always really I'm always really aggressive with like, okay, how many people are on this line? How many people are on that line? What's the rate of movement, right? And then I'll pick a line based on a lot of analysis. And then when I get in the other line, I'll look back at the other line I didn't choose and I'll mark that person and where they are in line. And then as the line is progressing, I'm just always comparing with like how much faster I am than this other person and if I made the right decision. And if I'm ahead, then I'm happy. If I'm not ahead, then I'm like, oh man, like I should have picked the other line. And it's just this weird, you know, process I go through, which is really natural to me. And it's like, to me, it's like, oh, why don't you want to be the most efficient? But then it has always been really normal to me. But then for some reason, you can think of a different way. It's like, oh, why do you have to, like, what's an extra 30 seconds or a minute or even 5 minutes going to matter if you pick the wrong line? Like, is it worth that mental struggle you're going through? So I was like, oh, okay. So then once I realized I do that, the next time I'm in a line, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to pick a line and not even think about it. Right. And I still thought about it a little bit, but at least this time I'm acknowledging that it's happening and it's actually not me. It's just it's a habit that's happening. So I can acknowledge it, I can stop it, and it's just like a little bit of less stress I have to go through when I'm picking a line. So it could be anything like that. And I do feel like the more you're aware of your thoughts happening and just try to distance yourself from them, so you can lean away from them when you need to, I think will lead to a place where there's less people, having tantrums in public. So yeah, in summary, I really do feel like you should put some effort into working on yourself. You don't actually just get better with age. You have to actually put the effort in. And yeah, I hope you like this video. See you in the next one. Thanks. Also, by the way, thank you for watching this video. And if you would like and subscribe, that'd be really great. Also, I'm going to start trying to link other videos I wrote that are relevant to this video. So there's probably going to be a link here if you want to watch that. I appreciate it. Thanks.